Hi guys, I'm here with Dr. Wildcat. He has been over here for over 37 years. An author, activist, environmentalist, a beautiful professor. And I thought, what better person to come and tell us about Hiawatha than him? So yes, come and learn about this building with us. I know Hiawatha was built 14 years after Haskell was created. Started as a chapel, auditorium, recreational center.
Right.
Yes,
right.
The pools are built in the basement. Can you tell us more about, background of this building?
The story of this building is it was actually built with funds provided by the United Methodist Church. A lot of us know the churches had often major roles in the Indian boarding schools, and often sometimes a more formal relationship, sometimes informal. But in this case, it was the United Methodist Indian Missions that provided the money to build the first, the front half of this building. If we walk around it, you'll notice there's actually the older building, which is the open space. And then there was an addition made with almost identical limestone that finished the back 1/3 of the building, which became basically office spaces, a band room, a music room for choir, for teaching music. So yeah, you're right. When it opened after it was built in 1899, it served as a chapel, a gymnasium. Initially, education was strictly segregated at Haskell. There was boys and there was girls. So Tecumseh here was the boys' gymnasium, and this was the girls' gymnasium. So originally they split them apart. Boys and girls did not do gym together. They did it separately. So this served as the girls' gymnasium. And you're right. There was a whole bottom floor is actually a swimming pool, which is actually still there. I mean, it's covered over, but I think with boarding and things, but there is a swimming pool in the basement of this building. And this building was used for a lot of programs. I know this because my father was a graduate. Nathaniel Wildcat was a graduate of Chilocco Indian Boarding School. Many of the Indian boarding schools at the time, back in the 30s, 40s, and even into the 50s, had very active Golden Gloves boxing teams, okay? And my dad boxed for Chilocco Indian Boarding School. But I was talking to our longtime athletic director, still lives in town, Jerry Tuckwin, and asking him about Hiawatha, and he told me they used to do boxing matches in Golden Gloves, boxing matches in the basement gymnasium of Hiawatha. And he said Haskell was very well known in the 40s and 50s for our boxing, our Golden Gloves, amateur boxing teams. And
that was just boys or girls?
That was just probably at that time strictly boys. Yeah, boxing for young ladies is really something relatively new.
Yeah.
What happened to that program? And he said, well, it's tragic, but there was actually a death, unfortunately. I don't know that it was one of our students, but they had a boxing match, and there was actually a young man who sustained fatal injuries as a result of a boxing match, and that brought such kind of, negative feelings, painful feelings about that. Boxing sort of disappeared here at Haskell after that, but I always thought that was fascinating. Now, I got here in January of 1986, and at that time, the primary use for Hiawatha is in that big open area here at the front of the building. They had built a makeshift stage, and I remember going to several, of our Haskell drama clubs presentations. So we had a very, very active Thunderbird Theater was the name of it, a group under the direction of Pat Melody, who taught here for years, decades. They were nationally known, and they put on performances here in Hiawatha Hall. In fact, I saw something, I was just looking on the internet this morning, it said the building had been closed since 2005. I actually think it's about 5 or 6 years longer than that. I don't remember any programming going on in this building in the main upstairs part past really 2000. And so it's been really only in the last, 4 or 5 years, we got a roof on, and now we're waiting to restore the interior. So again, built with funds by the United Methodist Church, multi-purpose building, music building, chapel, gymnasium, a swimming pool in the basement, a place where they held Golden Gloves boxing tournaments.
That's a lot. Yeah.
And, this is the grand mystery. Maybe someone watching this, maybe their aunties, uncles, parents, grandparents will know something about this. The beautiful part of this building is the bell tower. We had a bell up in that tower till about, my guess is, and again, it's very shady because there aren't many. I've asked some of the really old alumni and staff about this, if they recall anything about this, and it's sort of a big mystery because the bell was taken down, given to someone. Now, I'm trying to figure out, okay, why would we give the bell out of our bell tower to someone? It's unclear whether it was supposed to be, maybe it needed to be refurbished, cleaned, repaired. I don't know, but we never got it back. And so one of the things, that you probably know I've been advocating for since really about 2020, 2021 is I got to thinking about this beautiful old building. I said, when we restore this building, we ought to restore it as the Hiawatha Center for Justice to honor the namesake. Hiawatha was one of the, really 3 principal players in bringing the great peace of the warring members of the so-called Iroquoian Confederacy together. They've been through very bitter, brutal warfare. And I thought, we ought to honor the namesake of this building. So why not the Hiawatha Center for Peace? What I'd like to see is we figure out how to get that bell back, if it's still just sitting somewhere in a warehouse, or someone took it and didn't give it back, or we need a campaign to restore the bell here.
Yes.
That's a bell tower, and I couldn't think of anything more magnificent on this campus to have that bell ring every hour of the day.
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful.
Many campuses have a bell tower, functioning bell tower. I think we need to restore the Hiawatha Center for Justice bell tower with a functioning bell. And I think that would really be cool. So it's just a fantastic building, and it is one of about a dozen that's a National Historic Landmark.
Yes. I was going to ask you about that.
Yes.
So this building is in between the auditorium and Tecumseh, 2 places where they're, utilized.
It's really at the center of our campus,
Right.
if you think about it. And offices in the back, I'd like to see visiting scholars, visiting activists, visiting tribal leaders, do residencies here as a part of the Hiawatha Center for Justice, and really kind of bring this building back to life as really the center of our campus.
Absolutely. So with that being said, would you say that it was like a funding issue of reason why?
It's been a funding issue.
Okay.
Pure and simple. Now, we do have a commitment now for the restoration, and the funds, I'm told, are in the pipeline, but you never can tell what happens. I mean, just because there's a plan for the funding, who knows what will happen. But I think, people who are interested in supporting the restoration, we do have a fund in the Haskell Foundation, which is our 501c3 nonprofit, where people could make contributions, tax-free contributions, to help with the restoration of this beautiful building.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where can they find that?
Let's go to the haskellfoundation.org, and they have a website, and you can find all the information there.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So with all that being said, and all the history presented to us, what would you say your plans for the future? Once you turn this into, once we all turn this into.
I think it just, I've been saying, the last couple of years, it's not any choice we make in our lives. that doesn't involve justice, whether it's the clothes we're wearing, whether it's the food we eat, whether it's how we travel. The choices we make always entail relationships that are extensive, and we need to think, are we really doing something that is good for other people and the planet, or is someone suffering a negative consequence as a result of the choices we make? So to me, this idea of a Hiawatha Center for Justice could be our center to have discussions about food justice, health justice, housing justice, criminal justice, environmental justice, and these things are all related. We know that. They're all interwoven. And so I see really that this would be a great way to not only have Haskell really play that role as the national tribal college and be a university that's leading those kinds of discussions for our nations, for the larger society, and for the world. I mean, I think there's a real need for indigenous people to be speaking right now and talking about some of the difficult challenges we're facing. So I see this as becoming a center most for our students to use, for the larger community to use, for our Indian nations to use, where we can have those convenings and try to have those very difficult discussions, but do so respectfully and responsibly. We don't have many places like that left. We don't even have a Congress anymore where people can respectfully disagree about things and do it without calling people names and things. So I think it's time for us to model that kind of governance and conversation. So I'd like to see the Hiawatha Center for Justice become that place for programs, symposia, like I said, visiting scholars, artists, visiting activists. I think it could really be neat.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Wildcat.
You bet.
Yes.
You bet. Thank you for letting me talk about my favorite building on campus.
Absolutely. So after we restore the bell and create our Center of Justice, we are going to progress our school because our ancestors and the people after us deserve it.
Yep,
and,
absolutely.
So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the rest of the buildings we're going to be touring around this campus because we need to spread more awareness on the truth about our people. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and give this video a like, and I'll see y'all later. Thank you.
All right.
Woohoo!